Hey everybody, I am back from my first regional in a very long time, and an in-person one at that. It was Maryland's last Premium Booster 2 regional. I think it was like one of the last before Set 13 rolls out. You know, it was the official release, but then for tournaments, there's like a week, I think, before it's like tournament legal or something like that. But it was a lot of fun. It was a smaller regional. Hosted by Booster Box, and it was 512 cap, which is already smaller than the first regional I went to at Gen Con that was back in Set 7. And I think there was just shy of 500 in there, even after like the waitlist people got in. So it was a pretty awesome experience, I gotta say. I just wanted to recap it, talk about my matches, talk about the deck. I did we got so close to top 64, which have been really cool to do, especially on Yamato. This has been one of my favorite decks, as I've said many times, since Set 6 when it came out. And it was a lot of fun to play and meet so many of y'all. Honestly, the fact that anybody recognized me from this silly little channel that I do, you know, like it made the day like just so awesome to see all of y'all and say hi and talk to people what y'all were doing playing. There was somebody, a top 64 Purple Kata player, which is so dope. There was actually a lot of Purple Kata, which is cool to see. But yeah, meeting so many of y'all, meeting some other YouTubers that were there as well was really cool. And yeah, I just want to really quickly go over it. And also answer some questions that maybe a newer player might have if you haven't been to a tournament. Speaking of newer players, there was a ton of y'all out there as well. I overheard so many conversations, and it goes to just how nice the community can be, I think, of people saying that this was their first tournament, that they were new in general to One Piece, and to be patient if possible. And like, it was just so awesome to see people being kind to newer players and having a mix of like newer players, older players, right, at the tournament. And yeah, overall, I think it ran pretty well. I am not from the area, so I had a drive out at about 5 a.m. that day to make it there on time and get checked in and everything. So checkout started around 8 a.m. However, we weren't able to check in. I guess it was such a smaller event that they didn't even check in until about round one started, which was a little bit weird, but like it worked out, you know. Round one started and just there wasn't that many people that didn't show from looking around. It was since it was smaller, it was just a single big room, and yeah, I was a little bit nervous being so early, but overall I just had a lot of fun. I played a deck that I really enjoyed. I got to meet a lot of y'all, and we did pretty good. I ended up going 6-3. I played against a lot of decks that I didn't expect. I honestly expected just GP, Zoro, and up Luffy, right, for the most part, with the decks that I expected. And I did have tech choices and thoughts for oh, and also a Nell, which is why I have the single 9-cost Zoro in the deck list that you can see. But I did have game plan strategies for a lot of those 3 meta decks. And honestly, there were a lot of Nell from what I saw. There was a good mix of just a ton of varied decks, which I didn't honestly expect for like a smaller tournament. I expected it to kind of be more a lot of the same, if you know what I mean. But if you haven't been to a regional before, if you're a newer player thinking about going, basically you show up a few hours before it starts, you check in, you have to submit your deck list in the Bandai app the night before. Typically you show up, you get your participation packs. I don't even know if I'll put my video opening it on the screen here, because it was bad. I did not pull anything good. I think we got like 4 leader packs and a couple of just rares, from not even a single SR, I think, from my 6 participation packs. But you get special tournament and event packs. This time around, there is a chance to get like a textured card from your event pack or something like that. I didn't pull any. They're pretty rare. It was kind of insane because somebody checking in at the very beginning off of the wait list pulled the golden Blackbeard because they were giving out set 12 packs, and that was like first thing in the morning, and I was like, dang, that was crazy. Just like the amount of hype going on at like 8 a.m. was kind of wild. But yeah, things kick off. You'll get your pairings for round 1. You know, you have 30 minutes to play, 5 minutes overtime. If your opponent doesn't show up in the first 5 minutes, you get a free win essentially, which typically happens in the first like couple of rounds, you know, because maybe people just don't show up to the tournament, they forgot to drop themselves out of the app, etc., etc. I sat down. My round 1 was against Green Zoro, and a lot of the time, this Ashura Doji became the MVP of the day. This card, so good in set 12. These 5 life leaders, it really helps against them to be able to pressure early and still have something to kind of tempo the board, right? He's just a 3 Don to get rid of a base 5. I played against, it was only 1 GP that I played against throughout the day, but he did end up buffing Sanji Pudding before he took any hits to life, so he's obviously still above 3 life, right? So we were able to KO with Sanji Pudding with like that way. This card is just so good for the value. But yeah, my round 1 was against Green Zoro. We ended up winning. Again, I think I used Ashura Doji twice against Tashigi and a Cavendish. And really, Kuma, so good against that deck. Against Green Zoro, obviously I'm looking for things like Kiku, Hawkins, Kuma, so that way he doesn't really want to swing into it. And also, looking at the deck list, one of the MVPs was Otama. I really like this card. It helped in a lot of matches when I just needed a little bit of extra push. It's so good. It's not even leader locked, which it's kind of crazy, but I guess it's not, you know, a lot of this is like Bonnie uses this a lot, you know, but is really good in Yamato because you can play this card out and then use the 2 rested Dawn for your leader ability to go even higher with one of your bodies. So round 2, I end up playing against a red Zoro, which, and also I just want to highlight, all my opponents were so nice, so cool. Even when we're taking matches very seriously, you know, because I'm trying to focus on not make mistakes, right? Obviously, we're all still having fun, laughing. There wasn't a stream or anything going on. I don't know if you're allowed to like be joking around on. I don't know. I don't really go to a lot of these tournaments or not, but there wasn't a stream going on. But yeah, all my opponents were super chill, super nice. We had a lot of fun. Yeah, round 2 against Red Zoro. We end up winning round 1 against Green Zoro. Round 2 against Red Zoro. I was losing dice rolls as well. So I think I ended up going second against both of the Zoros, which didn't really feel great. Red Zoro goes super wide with the animal package. On 3 Dawn, he plays out the Searcher Chopper. And then on his 5 Dawn turn, he searched with it again. He played out the 5/6 Rush Luffy that attaches Arrested Dawn to one of your leader characters. So his board on 5 Dawn was crazy wide. Again, things like Mihawk into Hawkins or something, Ashura Doji, Kuma helped me save that matchup. Kuma just allowing me to rebalance the board, like save myself a little bit. Momonosuke blocker, healing, really good stuff. It was a very close matchup against the Red Zoro player. I was very much thinking I was going to lose this matchup in the beginning of it because he just went out so aggressive in the beginning, but we ended up turning around and ended up getting the win. Round 3, I played my first Rayleigh, and it was going pretty well, but towards the end, and let me just make sure I've got yes. So towards the end, I was playing to go for game. I didn't have a ton of bodies. He had 1 life, like 7 or so in hand, I want to say, and 4 Dawn open. And checking through the trash, he didn't really use many Conqueror's Hockey, so I had Hody in hand, but even with Hody, he's still going to have 2 events, which just decimates my swings. So we weren't able to close it out, unfortunately. Again, But shout out to the round 3 player, because he was actually somebody I knew from not my locals, but like the local area that I kind of play in. So I played against him before, so it was cool to see people from my area down at the regional. So yeah, Rayleigh wasn't a leader that I was like considering like in my head. However, I think we still did have a chance, because I played against 2 more Rayleigh that I'll talk about. But it kind of took me by surprise playing against a Rayleigh so early. And at this point, I've played against 2 Zoros, 2 different Zoro decks, and then a Rayleigh. And I'm over here thinking about GP up and a Nell, because walking around, I heard a lot of people on a Nell. And yeah, so the matches, and that's how it goes at regionals. That's how it goes from the ones that I've watched and to the 2 now that I've been to. You never know what you're going to be paired up against, right? And yeah, so we are 2-1 at this point. Going into round 4, we go against another Rayleigh, but this time we end up winning. We were able to pressure a bit better earlier, so he had to use some of his Conquerors Hockey events earlier. So by the end of the game, it was a similar type of ending where he had 1 life left and a Dawn open, but I know he had 3 Conquerors Hockeys in the trash already, so he can only have 1 left. So I end up playing a Hody. My board was a little bit wider, so we just had a little bit better of a time overall. We end up getting it. So 3-1, I was feeling very confident, feeling very good. And then we go against GP, which, again, this is where Ashura Doji came to play. I swung very light early to try and get this value. Once he played out Sanji Pudding, we ended up going second, and I just pressured with a banish swing on my Fordon turn. He gave me counter. Turn after that, he played out a Sanji Pudding. I got rid of it with Ashura Doji because he was still at 4 life, right? It was really good, you know, just removing that body really sent him back. He did develop another Sanji Pudding after I hit him the following turn. But the thing with the rogue deck, I feel like in the same vein that like I felt kind of thrown with like what decks I was expecting, playing against me, I think it also just throws a lot of people, you know. They don't always expect or know. There's a lot of variance with like a deck like this, you know. You never know exactly what you're going to go up against, especially if your opponent is sitting there thinking they're going to go against XYZ meta deck. So I show up with my tier 2, you know, and they don't know exactly what to expect. So I just pressured really hard after getting rid of the first Sanji Pudding. I started pressuring really hard. He ended up having to use a lot of giants and stuff like that to counter out, putting him back down and Dawn really low. So I was able to kind of ignore the 6-cost rush Luffy. I was able to play a little bit more aggressively, and we ended up winning. So feeling really good after that. We go, this is where we start going against up. We face 3 ups in a row. The 2 first up matches went almost exactly the same, where I would go first, feeling really good about that. I'm like, oh, I'm going first, you know, taking away some of his early game ramp. I swing into him on my 3-Don turn. He takes 2 life. Because I didn't really have an option else. Like, I think one of the games I had in Ezo to swing 6k banish to get 1 card out of the hand. But I ended up just going 8 at life. And both of the first up matches, they get a ramp card out of life, putting them to 8 Dawn a turn early, because both of them ramped on their following turn. So they ramped the turn, an entire turn, which allowed them to play out things like the Secret Rare Luffy that bounces a 4-cost back to hand or less, which both of them ended up hitting a Kiku off my board, which felt really rough, and removing some of my aggression, so I wasn't able to finish out the matches. So the following rounds after the GP, the first 2 ups, I did lose. So at that point, I was what, 4-3. So feeling really rough after like doing pretty good, but I'm like, okay, you know, after you win a few matches and like you're in the like the top 128 or so, I get you're gonna be facing like more of like the traditional meta stuff, right? Especially after like 5 rounds or so. But then I go against another up Luffy. I end up going first. This time, out of his first 2 life, he doesn't get any ramp triggers, so that really felt like just, you know, the tides were turning in my favor. I ended up on 9 Dawn. I was very healthy going into it. I think he ended up KOing a Kikunojo that I had out on board with like a God Thread or so, or maybe just swinging into it. But either way, I healed from Kikunojo, so I was at 4 life. I think he hit me once and then healed me back up with that, which fair enough, you know, because if you don't have the counter in hand, which I think he did have a lot of bricks, he was telling me after it, definitely getting rid of the Kiku could save you. But it put me in a position where I was, by my 9 Dawn turn, I was very healthy. So I played out the 9 drop Zoro, and basically in my mind was like, okay, you don't have any big bodies on the board. He had, I think, some blockers, some Nami blockers by this point. If you red rock this, you know, that's one thing, right? But then that's most of your turn. You're not establishing anything big. I can follow it up with a 6 drop or a Hody the following turn, if I remember if I had that or not. But the Zoro ended up sticking, and I went a little bit sicko mode. It was actually kind of crazy because he left up on the turn that I did go for game. He had 1 life, but he had like a few Dawn open. I ended up playing out the Otama to take a life, buffing the Zoro by 3k, and then attaching the 2 rested Dawn that I played out the Otama with to Zoro to buff him even more, and swung an insane amount, right? Just an insane amount with Zoro 3 times to finish off the game, and we ended up getting it. So that felt really good after losing twice to up in a row. Winning a game against him felt pretty good. It's a pretty hard matchup, especially with how much Dawn they're just leaving up. It feels like set 12 is the set of just leaving open like 4 Dawn and just letting your opponent not be able to deal with it because Hody just can't. Even the event can't. That's why I only had it at 1 copy. Because it does help situationally. And I think this gets more value in set 13 when we're relying more on the green Zoro 9 drop. Because playing out Hody just on 10 Dawn leaves you only 3 Dawns. You can only swing 9k 3 times with Zoro. But if you use this event instead, then you have more Dawn to swing with Zoro if you need it, right? But so many matchups, my opponent would leave up just a lot of Dawn, so I couldn't Hody them. People learn to play around this and this, you know. So winning against that up felt pretty good. And then we went into our last matchup of the day, which was against another Rayleigh. It was actually against Vampire Gaming on YouTube. I didn't recognize him at first because I've watched a few of his videos, but I haven't seen him like his face, so I didn't actually recognize him. But it was actually a really fun matchup. We were joking around, having a lot of fun. It was the last match of the day. I ended up winning. It came down to the wire. It was a very close game. Basically, kind of similar story to the other Rayleigh matchups where I was going for game. He had 1 life left. He had a Dawn open. I knew one of the cards in his hand was Rad Beam. And basically, I was able to play Hody to rest his Dawn, so he couldn't use the Rad Beam. Swung with Leader. Got the 3 other cards in his hand, so I know he only has Rad Beam. I was able to swing 5k with my Yamato Searcher by using Leader ability to attach the 2 rested Dawn to make a 5k to get his last life, and then swung with Hody for a game. So it came down to essentially 1k counter. It was a very close game, and it was really fun playing against him, even though I didn't recognize him at first. So it was nice to meet you. If you ever see this, it was nice to meet you. And it was really fun to play against you. If you guys have been a fan of the channel for a while, I actually used his. I don't know if I might have made a video on it. I actually used one of his lists for like Marco back in like set 8.5, which got me into playing Marco and became one of my favorite decks in that set back then. So shout out to Vampire. That's it was really cool that it was there. And that was my day. I ended up 6-3 and 67th out of like around 500 people. So I was pretty happy to do that with Yamato. The deck that I really like, and it's kind of like the last hurrah before set 13, and it's the old triangle meta, and if you're not playing the triangle, then, you know, you can tech against one of them, but you can't tech against all of them. So, those are my matches. It was, again, really fun to go out and not only have fun playing a deck that I enjoyed, but, again, meeting so many of y'all really made me like... It's a very different experience making these videos, because I always like, I can't hit home hard enough that I make these for fun and I'm just goofing off playing decks that I'm personally interested in most of the time. Sometimes I'm talking about the meta, sometimes I'm talking about like more, I guess, serious stuff, and like, but a lot of the times I'm just having fun making decks that I like and trying stuff that I find interesting, and trying to do it in a way that also could maybe help a newer player out in some regard, right? If, you know, and just trying to have fun with the game and kind of expressing that, you know, you can have fun with the game in your own way, you know, even if you're not the most competitive person. Like I'm definitely not the most competitive person when it comes to One Piece. I'm definitely the kind of guy that just like showing up to locals each week and having fun with my friends that go and playing a game based off of an anime that I really like, you know. And I don't know, to see so many of y'all, to meet so many people, to like say hi, it was like truly mind-blowing, truly honoring. Like, I don't know, it was not what I expected. I know I mentioned in a video or two that I was going, and I said it on Twitter, but you know, to meet so many of y'all, it was just, it's very, very awesome, very kind. So shout out to any of y'all that came up and said hi. I think Atakai TCG was there too. I didn't get to meet him, which I'm so sad because I like a lot of his work. But again, if you are new or haven't gone to the tournament, the way it works is, it's based off of your win percentage, like your record. Like I was 6-3, right? So my percentage, but it also is off of your opponent's win percentage too. So how well the people you beat and also lose to matter. So for example, I was talking to somebody else that was the same record as me, but one of their losses, I think, was to like the person who won it or like got top 8 or something, did very well. So that obviously will boost them a bit because the person they lose to did really good, something like that. I don't know the exact math, but I know that that's something to consider. So I was sitting there at the end, like hoping that I would bubble into top 64, because there's a chance at 6-3 that you could, right? There were a lot of 6-3s that did get top 64. So it was just what it was. I still had a lot of fun. Got some cool cards, cool Don cards, some boa sleeves that my fiance has already claimed. So at the end of the day, it's not about, for me personally, like the winning or losing. Obviously I went to try and do my best, right? But I still end up very satisfied. I did better than I did at my first regional, and that's kind of what I aspired for, right? To do better than how I did the last time and just have fun doing it. And I got to, you know, I played a deck that I felt confident in and that I enjoyed. You know, I put in a lot of thought into this going into the meta, right? I put a lot of thought into my curve, into what to do against the specific decks. You know, sometimes it doesn't work out like that. Sometimes it doesn't work out how you plan, and that's fine. Don't need to beat yourself up about it, right? Congrats to everyone who did well, you know, at the tournament. It was a ton of fun. I would love to do more, but I don't know what is on the agenda for me coming up. It was really cool to reflect because, like I said, the first regional I went to was in set 7 at Gen Con, and that was around when I was starting my channel. So I would say I had like just started it maybe like a month or two before I went. It was fairly new. It was fairly new, but to reflect on like the past like years or so, like and how the game has grown, how many people I've met, you know, the channel and everything like that, and just trying to make a fun, you know, kind of casual environment for people just to talk about the game, talk about One Piece, play some decks and stuff. It's been really great, and just a tremendous thank you to everyone who watches, for whatever reason. You know, I know I'm not the best player, right? Nobody's watching me for coaching, you know, I'll say that. I got that, right? But hopefully we're having a fun time. There's definitely a lot of decks that I've got planned for set 13, a lot of content for the game coming up, whether or not I go to a big tournament again soon or not, right? I'm getting married in like a couple months, so that's definitely nothing for set 13 probably. It might be a little light for set 13, but you know, down the line, who knows? They are a lot of fun. So if there's one that's more or less in my area, definitely I would love to. And I highly encourage y'all to as well. Like I said, I heard so many people talking about how this was their first tournament, how they were new to One Piece in general too. So if you're on the fence, if you can make it happen, if there's one near you, or you just want to go to experience it, I highly recommend it if you can get into a tournament, right? Especially if there's one close to you, right? Because like I said, there was a lot of people on the wait list that like waited in line in the morning to get in, and still there was like a little bit of spots open because I think there was another tournament running simultaneously in like San Diego, I think, which was a bit bigger. So you never know if you can get in or not, right? So if it's very local to you, definitely try. So those are my matches. Again, I just had a lot of fun. Shout out to everybody I met. You guys were like honestly so tremendous. You made the day like so much better. I had a lot of fun anyway, but like meeting all of y'all like just made the experience insane and so positive. You know, you see a lot of like, definitely a lot of like the negative, I'd say, with like trading card games and stuff online, and like some drama, this or that, or like, you know, things not going the way like an event should. But like this truly felt like just like a fun day of playing One Piece, and I don't know. Yeah, I could have asked to do better for sure, right? There was things that I definitely made mistakes. I could have done better playing against in some of the matches, but it was still a really fun day. I'm hype. So yeah, that was my experience getting 67th in the tournament. You know, I know it was a smaller one, so again, there'll definitely be people posting better records than mine, better, you know, placings for sure. But you know, I just hope that maybe some of my experience can like help you decide if you want to go to your first tournament or not. Definitely, if you are somebody who enjoys the game, whether you take it casually or seriously, like I sat down after winning round one, right? I went and sat down around like all the tables I think are like kind of sectioned off of like the better you do is like the higher table number you're at, something like that. I don't know, but it kind of seems like that. So after winning round one, I sat next to some other people that also won round one, right? And I'm playing against a Red Zoro, playing Yamato. And there's a Foxy next to me playing against a Bonnie. And I'm just like, there's just so much variety in it. And I know that's also contentious. Like some people don't like that type of meta. Some people do. I think it's fun to see the variance in it. But I get when people don't like that because they have a plan in their mind for what decks they want to play against. But, you know, to me, I liked Premium Booster too. I liked set 12. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, definitely if you were a newer player, I would say try it out. There's also a ton of online events too that are happening, and you can waitlist for those too. I think it's less likely to get into a waitlist for an online event from my experience. I tried to one a few months ago. I didn't get in, unfortunately, but still is a possibility if you're looking to play in a bigger tournament. But yeah, that's my list, right? Some of the tech options that I had, you know, I was running 7 banish cards total because obviously we're having 4 of them being searchable, right? Running 2 of the Momonosuke's, 4 of the Kuma. I like them because this can also recycle some of our cards, right? If you're on like a 7 Don or up turn, you can play out Otama, use her effect to buff your leader, and then use Momonosuke to heal Otama back to life to get that 2k back, right? Kuma is just a very sticky body. I like him into Zoro for that. So if he rests him to swing into him, at least we get to heal, something like that. Definitely helps against aggro matches too. Definitely helped me against things like Rayleigh and stuff like that. 2 of the Momos. He's a really good card. He's definitely really good. He actually helped me win my first matchup against the Green Zoro. I was able to rush him out to go for game. The one-ofs, definitely a little bit like here or there, you know, they all had their place and things I wanted to use them against. I didn't play against a single Nell, even though I put this in for a Nell. This actually won me against the up Luffy, right? That was the only matchup that I used him and got it out against, right? But, you know, the Mihawk, so many options in this deck for him, right? We got the Hawkins, Kikunojo, even the Ashura Doji has Slash that we can use for the Mihawk. I did get out the Mihawk combo a handful of times, you know. We got the 4 Hody, of course. The Yamato Searcher, just super good, right? Definitely, I like this deck going into set 13 as well. There were some changes I would for sure make. I've posted a video on Yamato set 13, but there's still probably some stuff I'd refine, you know. I just played what I felt comfortable with and with things that I felt were applicable into the meta overall. And yeah, that's you know, that's kind of it. I think the new Otama 2K was really good. I was gonna say I'll post a picture of my deck list that I took after the match, but you know, here it is anyway. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. Those were my matches. It was a fun time. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to the event. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. So if you are thinking about going to a tournament, definitely try to. Looking forward to playing set 13. But that's it for my yapping. I just want to talk about it because it was a fun experience, and I want to highlight it to hopefully, you know, convince more people to go, because they're fun times. Fun times. Big tournaments are fun, even if you don't do well. I was talking to somebody, and they're like, "Yeah, I lost 3 matches in a row," but I'm like, "Hey, we're still laughing, having a good time." No, I mean, like, at the end of the day, you're still in a room full of people playing the same card game as you, all with the same shared hobby, you know, same interest. So, yeah, really fun time. Thank you all for making it even better of a time. And I'll hopefully see you all at more tournaments some point. But either way, we'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.